today it's a little cloudy out. When I started it was nice and bright, so I didn't have the jacket on. Now it's got a little bit overcast. It's cooled down a little bit. Don't quite need a jacket. But today is the first day where I've had to use my laptop in the bag. That was pretty sick. He had a motorized skateboard, but it had like mountain bike treaded tires on it. He's moving pretty good. Alright, so today's the first time I've had a chance to use the my laptop in my bag. It's actually on the other side. So I keep my clothes on the left side, and then my laptop I keep on my right. So the laptop I only carry like once a week home, back and forth to home and work. So I've got it on this side, and I wrapped it in my jacket so it's nice and cushioned, so it absorbs some of the vibration from the road. But the laptop, though it did add weight, it didn't really add as much impact to the ride as I thought. So I think the bulk of the weight from the rack, the fenders, and the bag kind of just impacted the weight so much that I don't feel it in the steering or in the stop and go as much. Ton of people out. Where it doesn't affect the weight of the steering that much. But I do, since today is a windy day, my bike did seem to drift a little bit more with the wind. So it's not as twitchy, but it's basically a really slow push. So basically these big panels kind of act like a sail on both sides, and it seems to catch a little bit more wind with both sides open rather than just the one. So I thought that was interesting. Yeah, a ton of people out. So at the end of yesterday's vlog, I noticed that my drivetrain was a little noisy. So I went on and put some oil on each little bearing. So I don't put oil over the whole chain. So just like spinning your chain and then add an oil. I actually do a single drop on each link bearing. This way I use a lot less oil, and then I don't have to wipe off any excess, which kind of just smears it all over. I found that way just works a little better for me. And also, I mentioned that when I started the ride, it was really bright and sunny out. So kind of where I started was basically this nice and clear area. But then when I ended up, I kind of rode into the storm. So it got kind of rough. And I was on the canal, so it wasn't too big of a deal. But the last little section, I actually had to get on the road for a little bit. I didn't want to ride on the sidewalk. And what I should have done was turn on my light. Usually if the sun is out and I can see the sun, I don't have the light on. But as soon as the sun goes away, I like to have all my lights on, just so there's a little bit more visibility between the cars and myself. So I should have turned it on, but it was just a mile and I didn't want to stop. And I can't really reach around. The bag to get it. I kind of try to reach it, but next time I'll probably stop before I get onto the road, flick it on, and then get back to riding. It's just the safest way to keep yourself more visible to traffic. So hopefully you guys enjoyed the ride. Be safe. thing I noticed about the fenders on my first ride was that I heard like a little ticking every time I braked. And what it was is the cable cap, and it was rubbing. I don't know if we can see it that well. So I noticed it was rubbing, and that's what that little mark is there. So about halfway through my ride, all I had to do is kind of bend this out of the way so it doesn't rub. It was just the simplest method. I kind of like the length here on the cables. This way I can remove the rear tire even when it's fully inflated. I noticed that if I have it any tighter, it's really difficult to get the tire on and off. And at the same time, I could have adjusted this guy to make this a little bit shorter. I do have some cable length here, but I like to keep it nice and tight. Otherwise, the fender's been working pretty good. No other problems at the moment.